Hi there, Aries. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly tarot video forecast. This forecast is going to be for the month of May, and I'm breaking this down into two different segments. So the first segment is going to cover May the 1st through the 15th, and the second segment will cover May 16th through the 31st. Let's put down some cards and see what you have coming up, Aries. Okay, you guys, let's start off with your environment. Environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. So usually it's home, but not always. You want to sort of have an open mind about what this might be for you, okay? And it looks to me like in your environment, there's definitely something that you are learning about, or you're learning something about your environment itself. So for some of you, this could just be talking about that you have an environment where you're learning something. Maybe you're at orientation at a new job, or maybe you're going to school and finding out something new, taking some kind of classes, or you're learning something new about your environment. Like I said, maybe you're finding out about somebody who has a new building development going in not far from you, or you're learning something new about your neighborhood. Maybe you even have a new neighbor coming in and you're learning about your neighbor. All right, so those are all just examples, but basically you're learning something about your environment, or else your environment is a place where you're learning one or the other, Aries. Second thing that I am looking at does talk to me about your subconscious leanings during this time frame. And so your subconscious leanings looks to me like you're really focused on how can I get stronger in the tangible world. In other words, you may be doing something like looking for a job that would make you stronger in the tangible world. It would give you an income. Maybe you're looking for a better job, a better paying job. Maybe you are getting an education. Maybe you're learning something that's going to make you more valuable in the workforce. Or maybe, well, there's just a lot of different things, but to make you stronger in the tangible world. This could be upgrading your home, upgrading your phone, upgrading your car, upgrading something that makes you feel secure and stable in the tangible world. All right, next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about those things that you are, or I should say, your communication style and also your learning style. So it does look to me like right now for communication style, I think you're doing a lot of small talk or chit chat with different people around. You're basically trying to feel them out and get an idea about whether you want to delve into any kind of deeper conversation with them. I get the impression that you're looking for somebody, or you're looking for people that you can sort of partner up with, that you have the same intentions moving forward, or you have the same goals or mission. So I think you're just really kind of feeling a whole lot of people out for that. Some of you may be interviewing people for a position of some kind. Now, looking at communication style, I do think you're doing a whole lot of listening right now and less talking for your communication style. I don't feel like you're not saying anything. I just feel like you're saying a lot less than you're listening to. All right, next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about work, Aries, and it looks to me like, at least during this time frame, your work has a lot to do with communication and is very centered around communication. So you could be sending out lots of resumes. That could be your communication. Or maybe you work in dispatch somewhere and that's all about communication. Maybe you work in advertising, that's all about communication, but there's something about your work where you're really focused right now on communication. For some of you, maybe you always are, but for others of you, this may be more of a phase right now. Now, the next thing that we are looking at here, Aries, does talk to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded as we go through this time frame. And it looks to me like there's been a situation in your life that has been very challenging for you. I think you are bringing that challenge to a close during this time frame. So you are bringing that to an end in a very conscious and focused way, actually. Next thing I'm going to look at, I'm actually going to look at two things sort of together. I'm going to look at those things that you stand for, and this is going to be something that somebody has probably asked you to explain Um, or they have maybe even totally all out confronted you on whatever this is. And then we're also going to look at how that same person feels after you've had this confrontation or after you've had this conversation where you explain something. So it looks to me, Aries, like you're paying a lot of attention to your intuition, to your gut feelings, to those intuitive hunches during this time frame. And I think you're doing that unapologetically. And what's going on is somebody is sort of confronting you about that or asking you about that. And how they feel after you've had a conversation with them is, I think this is kind of funny. To me, it may not feel so good on your end, but it's not so uncommon. But they're feeling like you're a little unbalanced, a little unhinged, a little unglued, that you're actually trusting psychic hunches. So this person apparently is somebody who has more of a scientific or rational mind, and so this just seems a little bit woo-woo for them, basically. So the next thing that we're looking at talks to me about the lesson or experience as you're going through this time frame. Now it does look to me like there's been something that you have been really sort of putting up with as you're waiting for something better to come in. And so what we see here as your lesson or experience is that thing actually coming to an end, that whole waiting thing coming to an end and being over. Now, as that is coming to an end, there are some other things going on. I think that there is something going on where you're facing a big fear of yours, something that really is a core fear. It's something that has been sort of a part of you for a long time, and I think you're facing that fear right now. And I love it when this comes up because not that it's not difficult, it is a little bit difficult, but that there's light at the end of the tunnel after this, because when you look at this fear, you kind of break it down. You kind of look at, okay, maybe this is going to happen. And if this does happen, what would be the worst case scenario? And if the worst case scenario happens, what would I do? How would I deal with that? And as you answer all these questions for yourself as you're facing this fear, all of a sudden it's not as scary anymore because there are answers to these questions. So that's why I like to see it come up, because really you're making a fear more or less dissipate just by looking at it here. Now also coming in is you're really expanding whatever psychic or intuitive skills that you have. So this is what shows up here, that you are paying even, I think, earlier in the time frame we saw you as being highly intuitive, highly psychic. Now we're seeing you really expand that and grow that as you come closer to the end of this time frame, or closer to the 15th of May. And then once we get to the end of this time frame, what we see you doing is taking some time to really sort of seclude yourself and step away from other people to give yourself a chance to think some things over and really set some priorities for yourself. So good for you, Aries. All right, so that wraps up this first half of the month. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this part of the video, and when I come back, we will look at part 2. All right, Aries, we are back again to do the second half of the month for your reading. And so we are going to be looking at the 16th through the 31st this time. I actually forgot to put my headset on last time. It was picking up the sound where I had it hanging waiting for me. So if the first part of the month is a little quiet, that's why. That would be why. So my apologies. I didn't want to redo it because I did feel like that was a valid reading though, so. All right, so Aries, looking at your first card, this talks to me about your environment during this time frame, the second half of May. And so what I'm seeing about your environment is that there's a lot of freedom, and I'm really picking up freedom of movement and exhilaration and liberation. So I'm really happy to see that for you. There's a lot of different ways that can manifest. I'm sure that you will recognize that whenever it happens, but very positive cards showing up around your environment. Now, next thing I'm looking at does talk to me about your subconscious leanings. And what I'm seeing here is that in your subconscious, you're thinking a lot about healing. For many of you, this is about healing up emotionally. For a lot of you, this is going to be about catching up on your rest. Maybe you were being pushed, or maybe you were pushing yourself pretty hard, but catching up on your rest. And for some of you, this is going to be literally physical healing that you're thinking about in your subconscious. Next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about two things. First of all, your learning style, and secondly, your communication style. So I do see that you are learning some things that are different than what you expected, and I think surprisingly different than what you expected. So I feel like you're getting some upgraded or some updated information that is coming into you that doesn't necessarily match up with what you were taught about whatever this topic is the first time around. Now, as far as your communication style, I think you're being very specific in your communication with people. I don't think that you're leaving a lot of details to chance as you communicate. Next, we're looking at what's going on with work during this time frame. It does look like there's some kind of power struggle going on with work. So this could be if you have a resume out and there's a lot of other people with resumes out for the same job, then that could be what we're talking about. This could also be about people jockeying for a position or for raises or promotions where you are working, but there's definitely this whole idea of power struggle that comes in for me whenever I'm looking at work for you. And so I think that basically you're trying to sort of hold your position or go up to the next position. You're trying to not let other people take control over the things that you're supposed to have power over. Okay? Now, I don't feel like you're trying to step into somebody else's area. I feel like you're defending your own territory or going for a raise or a promotion. And like I said, I don't think you're stepping into somebody else's territory. I don't think that you're trying to knock somebody else out of this position if you're going for a promotion. It's something that is open that you are competing for. Now, that part of your personality which is growing or expanding right now, there is something that that you're healing up from, and this is probably more in the emotional area for most of you, although I do feel like there's maybe 20% that this is about physical healing, but there's this whole sense of healing, of sort of going in the opposite direction of before, where maybe before things were going in a more negative direction. Now things are going in a more positive direction. You're starting to feel better. You're starting to get some of that positive momentum going. All right, next thing that we're going to look at is whatever it is that you stand for, which turns out to be very similar to your last time frame actually. And then whoever it is that talks to you about this thing that you're standing for, we're going to look at how they feel after you've had a conversation about this. So this is going to be somebody that came and questioned you about this. Maybe they wanted an explanation. Maybe they actually confronted you about whatever this is. But it looks to me like what you're standing for is this idea that your intuitive abilities are getting stronger. You are more confident in what you're picking up intuitively or psychically, okay? So spiritual growth is really happening here. And how somebody sees you this time, as opposed to last time when you were talking about your abilities, this time this person, and I feel like it's probably a different person, sees you as really starting out on something new and unknown without knowing where it's really going to take you. So they see you basically at the beginning of an exciting adventure, where last time around somebody saw you as basically unhinged. I'm liking this perception much better. Okay, so the next thing that we're looking at does talk to me about the lesson or experience as you go through this time frame, and it looks to me like this is more of an experience. This is that you're in sort of a sheltered position. You're in a safe space, a safer space than most, and this can be literally geographically. This can come up as financially, or this can even come up as emotionally, but in a sheltered place or in a safe place here. Now, as you are incorporating this experience into your life, there are some things going on. You have a choice in front of you about what you want to prioritize moving forward and what you want to sort of let go of. And I think that whichever way you go with this choice, there's not a bad choice here. Either way you go is a winner. All right. Something else that is going on during this time frame is there is somebody in your sphere of influence who has you feeling like you have to be a little bit fake, like you have to pretend that everything's okay and everything's good and fabulous, when really it's kind of not, at least not with you. And so this is a card to me that talks about sort of pasting on that smile, even though inside something is really chewing you up. And so this is kind of what I see going on here, is this pretending everything's okay while it really is not, this false joy or false happiness. Um, and that may be about the decision that you're making, where you're setting a priority, because I think you know as you're making this decision. If you don't know it as you're watching this, you'll know it before the month is out. But as you're making this decision, I think you know that something is going to have to go. And since the options are all good, I don't think that you're too thrilled about letting one of those good options go so you can prioritize another one. So this is a little bit of false happiness, because whatever you prioritize is going to be good. So I think there is a reason to be happy that you get to move forward with that. But I think it's bothering you a little bit that you had to let go of something. And the reason that this happens when this particular card shows up is because you just don't have enough either time, money, somehow you just don't have enough resources to sink into both of these projects or all of these projects, whichever case may be yours, and actually make progress with them. And so this sees you really setting that priority so you can make progress with something, but at the same time, you're putting something else on the back burner and leaving it behind. I don't think you're thrilled about that. Now, where do we see you at the end of this particular time frame? We see you in a position where you are really thinking outside the box as you're looking for solutions to situations that come up. So being very creative and really enjoying the opportunity to find that creativity and to see how easy it is to solve problems when you hit that creative space. Okay, so that's what we have for your month, Aries. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing this video with others and putting a thumbs up if you found it beneficial. And of course, thank you to those of you who are ordering private readings from me and private Reiki sessions, and to those of you who are participating in my lives every day and putting in super chats. It is because of all of you guys' support at every single level that I get to do what I love to do for my living. So thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful month, and if I don't see you here for a private between now and then, I'll see you back on the next video. Peace out.